Hello. This week we will be learning about place value, and this is just an introductory lesson on what we'll be covering for the next week. For our next topic in math, we are studying place value. And if you could follow along on your guided notes, just like I have here, that would be perfect. Fill in the blanks as we go. That way it'll help you and help your learning throughout the rest of the week. But anyways, place value is the value given to the place of a digit in a number. We will be working with numbers in the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, and 100,000 places. You will also learn to round numbers, and you will also learn how to compare those numbers using place value. So if you could start out by filling out your place value chart that's on your desk to the best you can. The number that you are working with today is 239,764. If you could write that number into your place value chart, we can continue on with the rest of the lesson, because that's the number we're going to be working with all day today. So your number should look like this. It's 239,764. So if you notice, it's important to notice that this group of numbers right here is called a period. A period in a number is a group of 3 digits. So this is a period and this is a period, separated by this comma. Okay? And if you notice the number that you wrote in, if you look at the 4 is the farthest to the right, meaning that it's the smallest number. Okay, and as you continue to look at your chart, each number is 10 times the amount of the number to the right. So obviously, 4 times 10 is 40, but if this number was a 4, it would be easier for you to see that, but it's a 6. So if you could kind of just fill in some of the numbers and what the actual place value is. So for instance, this 6 tenths would actually be the number 60. So if you look right here, it would just be like that, 60. And that 7 would really be 700. And that 9 would really be 9,000. Okay, and then you can continue on where that 3 would be 30,000 and that 2 would be 200,000. Not only is it important to know the name of the actual place value, but it is important to be able to say the number. Okay, a lot of times you guys have trouble saying the number, and it's important to practice saying the number. To say the number correctly, you can use the number name. Okay, I would be filling that out on your guided notes right now. That is a vocabulary word that we'll need for the rest of the week. Number name. A number name is a number written using only words. To try to write the number name of the number above. Okay, that's a lot of writing, so really make sure you're thinking about it. So I'm going to say the word out loud and then have you write the number name. 239,764. Okay. So that's an important vocabulary word, but I want to note that when you say 239, right where that comma is where you say the word thousand. Okay, that's kind of your hint, a little cheat to help you when you're writing the number name, that when you see that comma, that's when you say thousand. Okay, a number is written, so a number can also be written in its expanded form. That's another vocabulary word that we'll be going over this week. Expanded form is the number written as the sum of the values. So if I were to write this number in expanded form, it would be 200,000 plus 30,000 plus 9,000 plus 700 plus 60 and plus 4. That would be expanded form. Okay, once you understand place value, it's easy then to start to compare numbers. So when we compare numbers, we use symbols such as the less than symbol, the equal to symbol, and the greater than symbol. Okay, so if I gave you the example, so let me erase this really quick. If I gave you the example of 2,345, and I'm comparing it to 2,355, I need to look at the place value. So if I first look to my right, my 2 and my 2 are the same number. So I'm going to keep looking. Then I'm going to continue to my left. So 3 and 3 are the same number. So I really don't want to compare those numbers. Now is where you see a difference. My 4 and my 5 are different. So that means that 4 is less than 5. Therefore, 2,345 is less than 2,355. Does that make sense? So if you look at these numbers to compare, you notice that the thousands place is the same number, the hundreds place is the same number, but the tens place is different. And that's the number that you use to compare. Okay, now let's move on to rounding. Rounding is very tricky, and it's going to take us more than just this introductory lesson to get you really familiar about it. So do not panic. I will teach it to you shortly, but this is just a brief overview. So a process that determines which multiple of 10, 100, 1,000, and so on a number is closest to is called rounding. When rounding, it is important to remember everything you learned about place value. Rounding helps you in everyday life, especially when you're dealing with money. People usually round to the nearest dollar or $10 when they're shopping. So if a dress costs $56.89 and shoes cost $42.12, you would round the dress to the nearest tens, which would be 60, and then you would round the shoes to the nearest tens, which would be 40. Add those two numbers together, 60 plus 40 gives you $100. So you're going to be spending about $100. So I'm going to have you do a few examples on your own. So if you could, at your seats, round 6,547 to the nearest thousand, and I'll give you a hint. You always look to the number to the right. So if you're rounding 6,547 to the nearest thousand, you look at the hundreds place, okay? If it is 4 or below, you let it go. If it's 5 or above, you give it a shove. Well, this is a 5, so that means this 6 has to be given a shove. So that my number 6,547 would be rounded to about 7,000. Okay? Now why don't you try to round 6,547 to the nearest hundred. So now that I'm rounding this number to the nearest hundred, I'm not looking at my hundred spot to round. I'm going to be looking at my number to the right, which is the 4. So let's do it. And since that number is 4 below, I leave it alone. So I'm going to make this number stay the same. So 6,500 would be rounding that number to the nearest hundreds place. All right. So rounding can be really tricky, and I don't want to cover a bunch of it until we actually get to the lesson. But as you can see, we are going to be learning a lot this week. If you could just jot down all of our vocabulary words in your guided notes, such as number name and expanded form, place value, rounding, and let me think if there were any other ones. Oh, period, the period in a number, and all of the actual right here. These place values are important to also know. Okay, well, I look forward to teaching you all the rest of about place value, but I hope this was a good exercise to actually introduce the lesson to you. All right.